Hey Derek, how's it going?
Pretty good. What's up?
Not much. I wanted to ask you a question. I have an important question to ask you.
Sure, let's hear it.
I wanted to ask you about motivation. Specifically, what motivates you when you're studying Japanese? What's a motivating influence for you?
That's pretty tough to answer. I don't know, I feel after I have a good conversation with someone, like something really intellectual, a really rewarding exchange of information, conversations like that. After those conversations, I always feel like really good, like, wow, I just had a great conversation and I learned a lot. I guess that kind of encourages me to study more in hope that, I'll have more conversations like that. Also, maybe like really interesting media, like it could be like an interesting TV show or like an interesting book or comic book or video game, anything, something that's a little difficult, it's a little beyond my level, it kind of pushes me to study more or to learn more in hope that, I can better understand whatever it is I'm trying to watch. I don't know, I guess that's about it for me. How about you? What motivates you?
I Yeah, motivation is a tricky subject just because I feel like my motivation changes all the time. It's really all over the place. And sometimes I'll get really motivated even just by Anki, and I'm really into Anki, and there's no turning around. It's just total focus. At other times I don't feel like Anki, um, and I'll start watching a new TV show or something, and even if the TV show, doesn't end up really being anything at all and really not worth watching, I'm still really, really enthusiastic about watching, say, the first two or three episodes.
Hmm.
And then I'll get bored of that, and then the next thing it might be, say, reading. And then I think what I've learned over time is that it's just important for me to be changing what I'm doing fairly frequently. I try not to make a set rule that I must study this much of this particular thing every day. I mean, make a rule of studying a certain amount of Japanese or something, but what that Japanese is, if it's, say, a drama, or it could be a drama, could be an anime, could be a book or something, that's subject to change all over the place.
Yeah, keep it varied, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Cool.
The one for me that's probably, possibly, the most motivational, though, is reading. Conversations are really, really good, but reading for me has a special place in my heart, just because I just love the idea of, it's almost like I sort of fall in love with reading again in general, because there's these other sets of crazy symbols on a page that are very unfamiliar to me in comparison to the English set of crazy symbols on a page. And then I and yet, as I'm scanning along with my eyes, these images of a cave dripping with dripping with, sort of with damp liquids, or the of someone's fear, and so that all those sorts of emotions and environments and settings, and inner thought processes and stuff are all sort of floating up into my mind. And I yeah, the fact that, yeah, as I said, it just helps me to not only to really think, wow, I'm understanding all this. It's very obvious that I'm understanding all of this, because I can see it in each sentence that I comprehend, but also that I'm sort of in the same time falling in love with reading and what it means to, that beautiful sort of array of images and these pictures, sort of floating pictures which come into your mind as you read.
Right. So you like to stimulate your imagination, basically.
Yeah, yeah, yes. Why? What do you like to stimulate?
A variety of things, actually. Well, I don't know, honestly. I really. like it when it could be I read something in English, like, well, you know that I do a lot of research and reading on health, diet, nutrition. And then when some Japanese people might be talking about a particular topic that I happen to know a lot about, and when I can just exchange those ideas, things that I've learned in English, because there's a lot of research on some topics about health and nutrition that there is no research in it in Japanese, and when I can relay that information to Japanese people and they seem so shocked about what I'm telling them, like, wow, how did you know this? I never knew. And they seem like genuinely interested in what I have to say. I kind of feel that that's really rewarding. I really enjoy that. Just, uh, that kind of exchange of information. I really enjoy that. I
That,
enjoy reading
yeah,
too, like you do, but I guess I get more stimulation from things like that. Just like rewarding
yeah,
conversations.
yeah. That does sound really, really great. Um, yeah, I mean, I wish I had more knowledge on a bunch of things like you do, such as, health and fitness and all those sorts of things that you have, fairly well compared to me, pretty expansive knowledge on, so that you could bring those to conversations. I probably can't bring much to conversations that Japanese people don't already know.
Well, I think that's
Yeah.
just one of the few topics that I know a fair amount about because there's a lot of topics in all languages, like even in English, that I couldn't comment anything on. Uh, like music, for example, I'm sure you could talk about that in Japanese, or like how to write or how to compose a novel. I'm sure you could talk for days about that, but it's just not something I
I
could
could.
do.
Yeah. I remember I had one conversation with someone, it was about a year ago maybe now, and I was talking to them about thoughts that were swimming through my mind that I'd picked up from somewhere on the internet, and about this idea that Michael Jordan, arguably the best basketball player of all time, having missed significantly more shots than what he scored.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and the idea of that being applicable to language learning, it's if he's the best and he's still doing that, in fact, it could arguably be that made him the best. Then then who are we to think that we will do all this study, and then be able to approach someone and talk to them and not make mistakes?
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is, I guess, that you really have to be making a hell of a lot more mistakes than what you are, I guess saying correct sentences in this case, that would be perfectly correct in every conceivable way. And then you kind of, so you can learn from those mistakes, because it's like I remember it was my stepdad who told me sometimes when I was younger, my stepdad's really into playing golf, and I was never very good at driving. He just used to give me a 7-iron. He never used to give me drivers, I guess because they were too expensive and he didn't want me breaking them.
Mm-hmm.
But he would give me a 7-iron and I would just whack the 7-iron around. I guess I don't know much about golf, but I'm assuming it's because it's an easier club to use maybe than some other irons, or it's more of a standard club. And then I'd hit that around, so I'd take the 7-iron off the tee, and then I'd take the 7-iron, basically, unless I was chipping or putting, I'd be using the 7-iron. And so I would get to the green, if I was lucky. I'd get to the green, and then I'd change over to the putter, and then I was basically a dynamo with putting. I was much better at putting than what I was at anything else. But regardless of that, Pepe gave me some advice, which is that you should probably try and hit it past the hole if possible. I mean, obviously you want to get it into the hole, but if you don't get it in the hole, probably better to hit it past the hole, because if you get it past the hole, then at least there was a chance that it was going to go in. And if you hit it before the hole, then there was no chance it was ever going to go in, even if it was totally online to go in. And so, I don't know, if you sort of think of that more broadly in language learning, you might think that, yeah, it's better to do things, I guess, in excess.
Yeah, go all out.
To go all out with it. To go all out with making the mistakes rather than being reserved. Because if you be reserved, you might not ever get it in. But then if you, so to speak, and I don't mean this as some kind of, sexual metaphor. But then like if you go past the hole, I mean, at least there was a chance you were going to get it in, right?
Yeah, you want to go in the hole, right?
Obviously, you want to
go
jam
it in there.
You want to, yeah. I mean, obviously, the more that you do it, the more accurately you'll be able to get it in the hole, and the more often you'll be able to get it in the hole, and more frequently.
Yeah, practice makes perfect, right? A perfect practice makes perfect.
Perfect practice makes perfect. Yeah.
What was it that Bruce Lee said? I think he said, like, when you're punching a target, try to aim like a few inches inside of the target so you get more power. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's an interesting way to think about it.
A bit behind your target so you get more packing power to your punch or your kick. You want to go through your target a little bit.
Yeah, Bruce Lee, did you say it was?
Yeah.
He seems to be a man of quotes. You know, he's one of these figures who's often quoted.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember reading another one from him that was something along the lines of, I don't fear the man who has practiced, 1,000 kicks one time. I fear the man who's practiced one kick 1,000 times. And so I don't know that there might be something to bring to Japanese in that as well. That if you like, obviously if you take it as one sentence, that's probably not going to do.
Yeah.
But if you try and get one point really, really clear in your mind, that might be a good strategy to try and sort of, that's that perfect practice idea that they say that what's his name? Who was it? Tiger Woods, I think it was, who used to drop a sort of a golf ball down deep into a bunker, for instance, and just practice just trying to get the ball out of the bunker over and over and over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. And even though it's a shot that might actually be quite rare in the game, he would practice that shot over and over and over again, because it was, he essentially wanted to know that if he was in that situation, he wasn't going to fail, because he had practiced it thousands of times. Maybe that's a good idea. I actually don't do that in just studying Japanese at all, but maybe that's a good idea, is to focus on one thing until you understand it completely. Say, take a 20-minute episode of a TV show and understand and pick it apart completely before moving on. That might be an interesting way to study. I've actually never tried it.
You really brought that back on topic. Good job.
We
were on a tangent. We were way out there.
Yeah.
You brought that back pretty nicely.
Thank you.
On the house. Awesome. Anyway, what's the next question?
Well, I wanted to ask you, just before we get on to any next questions,
sure.
I wanted to ask you, is there anything in particular that's motivating you at the moment?
Since I have to think about it, maybe no. I'm just soldiering on. I'm just, doing a little bit of studying every day, just progressing, same as usual. But I don't really have like any kind of fire, under me. I'm just kind of moving along at the same kind of steady pace.
You mentioned recently that you've been playing Persona. So that's not a fire then?
No, not at all. I'm enjoying that though. It's just for fun. The main thing that I'm getting for that, it's not difficult at all to understand the Japanese that's being used in it. There are some kind of special non-everyday words in the game, but It's just kind of nice to see how like some of the grammar is tied in together, or to see like how some different expressions are being used in like a natural situation. Because, well, I'm sure you've noticed before, but like a lot of the language in textbooks is just kind of terrible. Like it's just not stuff that people say. So
Yeah.
it, to me, like what I see in this game, it's quite different from the language in textbooks, but it's, I'm pretty sure it's natural.
Well, yeah, it's native, so
Yeah.
it's natural. It's natural to someone.
Yeah, like I'm an advocate of just using like authentic materials. Like don't study the language directly. Like just kind of use native materials and expose yourself to the native language by like something that you may be interested in. And I
The
think that'll make you progress a lot better than using a textbook.
I agree. I mean, I agree. It's hard. It's not easy to not rely on English in any way, but I think it is it's very important. I mean, I think there are some good ideas, some good things that you can do to help you out in in making that jump. You might, for instance, as opposed to if you say worried about dictionaries,
Hmm.
about Japanese, I know that online quite a few people seem to worry about the sort of Japanese to Japanese dictionary jump, getting out of English to Japanese dictionaries or Japanese to English dictionaries.
Yeah, it all depends
Yeah,
on the word, and it depends on your level, I think. Like if you just recently passed JLPT N5, like a very beginner level. If you just pass something like that, I don't think Japanese to Japanese is going to be very helpful for you. And you're probably not going to get much benefit of playing a game like Persona. It's just, it's too much of a gap. Maybe it's too soon. You might want to involve more English, but I think for the average person, they'll probably just get frustrated.
yeah. Well, I went through plenty of frustration with. I didn't do anything really silly, like I didn't, for instance, if I have an aim, one of my aims, for example, one of my ultimate goals might be to read, I guess, a Murakami Haruki book or something like that in Japanese.
Actually, they're not
Um,
that hard. I'm pretty sure you could.
oh, thank you. But if I was, like if I were to sort of approach that task, I didn't really do anything, say 2 years ago, I didn't really buy one of those books and try and read it, which I'm fortunate. But there were plenty of experiences that I did something and then I tried and I tried and I tried and I would just like get get headaches near enough to getting headaches and eventually I'd give up on it and feel terrible about it. Maybe everybody, Stephen Fry says that everyone's first love is unrequited. And so maybe it's like a similar thing when you're learning a language. Maybe you need to go through a couple of experiences like that where you're just you really just feel like you're bashing your head up against the wall. Maybe that I don't know, it makes you either your head stronger or it makes you wiser or something like that to the kinds of materials you could be using. But it really sucks. It's really painful when you're actually in that moment and you realize just how hard this is and just how much further you feel that you have to go. And finding material that suits your level it's like an art. It's not easy at all. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I was playing this game. It's called Shinobido Imashime. I think it was released in like 2005 or 2006. It's kind of like a stealth action ninja game for PlayStation 2. And I remember just the game uses like kind of old Japanese, and there's a lot of really difficult expressions. And at the time, I didn't really know how high the level of this game was. Like I thought it was just normal Japanese. It was just hard for me. And I remember just getting so frustrated because I couldn't understand like the mission instructions, or like like what to do. anything like that. And it was really hard to understand the story too. And then I remember asking my Japanese roommate at the time, like I was living with a Japanese guy in Japan doing like a home share. And I remember asking him like, "What does this mean? Can you help me out?" And when he was reading it, he kind of, he had to pause and he was like, "You know what? I don't know." And then I was like, "What? You can't explain it in English or you can't explain it in Japanese?" And he just said, "I don't understand it. Like I don't know what to say. Like I can't explain it in English or in Japanese. I think you got to kill some guy, but I don't I don't know. It's just too hard." And that just made me like so angry but so happy at the same time. Like I just thought like, well, if he can't understand it, how am I supposed to understand it? But
Yeah.
anyway, it was a fun game, just really hard to understand.
It really sucks too because I have a really genuine love of that aspect. Not necessarily that really old Japanese, but just the differences in dialects and things like that. I'm really interested in the differences in dialects. I'm really interested in when I hear a new way of saying something. I remember when the first time that I heard, say for instance, arigato gozaimasu or something like that. I was just so happy,
Yeah.
or me-sama or something like that.
Hmm.
It's just this kind of Edo Jidai way of saying things. I was really sort of excited, and I'm really interested in that. I would like to be able to get to that level, but where I can really soak all of that up. But I have to put it on the back burner because there's really some more fundamental things, such as how to speak in an everyday situation, that I probably need to get over first.
Yeah, I'd say like go every day, then keigo, then maybe you could, branch out into like the traditional dialects or local dialects.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not so
it's
practical to your everyday life to talk like a samurai, right?
yeah. It would be pretty cool though. I mean, if you could do all three of those perfect, I mean, how great would that be? If you
You'd
could,
probably be
if you
better than most Japanese people.
That's right. Yeah, if you could hop between dialects. I mean, in Australia we don't have really too many dialects, but I mean, imagine if you could do that. If you could perfectly swap between, for instance, accents and lingo and stuff for, say, England.
Hmm.
If you could jump between them, you'd be. I mean, you'd be some kind of hero.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it'd be pretty cool, especially
It
as
would
a
be.
foreigner.
Yeah, it would be. It would be very cool. Have you ever met anyone who can in Japan who can speak Japanese to anywhere near that level? It's Japanese to a level that would
A foreigner?
impress. Yes, that like Japanese to a level that would impress Japanese people, and that Japanese people would be, for instance, a lecturer or something, where they would attend lectures of that person and sit down, and even though they look like a Japanese, even though they don't look like a Japanese person, this lecturer, they would sort of do everything to an extremely high linguistic level.
Yeah, there are a few people on TV that I've seen. There are a few celebrities that. Uh, there's an American guy. Uh, I forget his name. It's kind of sad that I forget his name,
Do
but
you mean the guy with the slick back hair?
Dave Spector. No, not him. Well, he's pretty good too. Um, yeah, he's pretty good. I'd say he's really impressive in terms of his ability. Um, the other guy, he has a coffee commercial. He's American. I think he was originally like a missionary, or he studied like religion or something in university. What is it like? Honest. Anyway, forget about that. It's
Yeah,
But
yeah,
anyway, he's really good. Like whenever he's on like a talk show when they have like a quiz or something kind of academic, like academic questions or kind of trivia, he's always like ahead of the average Japanese person. Like whether the topic is like about the US or Japan, like he's always like one of the quickest to answer in Japanese. Like it doesn't matter. Like he's a very like rational, logical, intelligent person.
Wow, yeah, yeah,
Like
that's
he puts a lot of like the younger like 20-year-old Japanese celebrities to shame. Like it just like his Japanese is better than theirs.
yeah. Well, you sometimes you hear those stories of people, for instance, who come to Japan from overseas and they love a particular aspect of Japan, like haiku, and then now they're really famous haiku poets or something like that, and they're really romantic stories. I think that I like to hold on to as like a kind of a far-fetched dream,
Hmm.
even though I don't have all that much interest in haiku. But like the idea of sort of feeling as though Japan is actually your home. It's actually, and you belong there. You belong there because you can do really anything that a Japanese person can do, including, you know, uh, including, chatting up chicks, including going to doctor's appointments, including attending business meetings and everything else that, a Japanese adult can do.
Hmm. How about you?
Yeah.
What do you think? Like, who's been the like most proficient foreigner that you've seen, like on TV or in life? Like, what really distinguished this person from like other learners of Japanese?
I probably the best person that I've met, the best Japanese speaker well, certainly that I've met in person is you.
Oh yeah, seriously?
Yeah, but then
Awesome.
again,
That makes me
I'll
feel
give
good.
it.
You probably haven't met that too many people though. That's you
No,
don't get out much.
I'm gonna tell you right now two things. One, I've only been here for a little while. Two, I'm a loner. So
Yeah, well, yeah, that actually it seems more logical because it can't be me. There has to be better people than me.
But no, you're extremely motivating to me. I think because, as I've discussed with you before, like some of my friends, as much as I love them, they're not highly motivated, highly motivating, really hard-working people. And I mean, you're personally motivating for me, and you seem to be motivated no matter sort of what it is. If it's you might not say that you're motivated in Japanese, but you're certainly a motivated person. It might be something else at that present moment that you're motivated in, but I
Hmm.
mean, similar to me, I am always trying to work on something, and so. Yeah, that's really great. I haven't really met too many people like that. There seems to be this thing where a lot of I've met two other extremes, which I've met the absurdly lazy, and I've also met the super stressed out parents who are always complaining that they can't go back to being absurdly lazy. you know?
Hmm.
Yeah, I haven't really met this sort of the person who's still a sort of a young guy. I say sort of, still sort of a young guy, but is really 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 motivated and everything.
Word.
Yeah.
I see.
Did you want to call it quits? Do you want to stop it there?
Yeah, sure. Actually, before that, I should tell you that the celebrity that I couldn't find the name to was, I'm pretty sure it's Patrick Harlan.
Patrick Harlan.
Yes.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
the guy that's really proficient. Uh, I'm looking for his nickname. Uh, just a second.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't. I think it's like Pakkun or something like that. Yeah, it's Pakkun. Patrick Harlan. He's on like this coffee commercial. Like I think it's called Hirushia, and it's
Mm.
a coffee that helps you burn fat. It says on the commercial like 100 times like shibo moyasu, something like that. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's the guy that I was talking about. He's quicker than like a lot of the younger Japanese celebrities.
Yeah.
He seems like a pretty smart guy.
That's really cool. That's yeah. Like I think one thing when I think of outsmarting Japanese people, that's super impressive. Don't get me wrong. I mean that guy's he's obviously amazing. But I think out like how do you say it? Like sort of out funnying. If I'm not sure if funnying is a word, but out funnying Japanese people would be that would truly be something. I would love to say a joke which would bring down the house, and it was funny like on a Japanese level, not because it's some sort of foreigner making some silly mistake.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
it's possible.
it is possible. Good luck to me.
Yeah, you can do it. Whatever.
Okay, we're going to cut the show here. Thanks for listening, everybody. Catch you next time on Guys Learning Japanese.